I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, January the 6th, 2020, brought to you in part by the International Brangus Breeders Association. You've heard us talk about how good Brangus cattle are. Now's your chance to see for yourself. Tonight on RFD's American Rancher program, see why this country is Brangus country. Tune in at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern or 8 o'clock Central and watch that program. Also check out GoBrangus.com. We came into 2020 with a bang, guys, and I tell you what, your cash prices were all higher. Your board was actually mostly lower, but we're feeling really good about where we're coming into. These high volume sales starting out this Monday. A lot of them haven't had a sale for a full 2 weeks. They're going to be a lot higher, and your buyers are aggressive. We've shook loose a little bit of pen space as we continued to move some fat cattle out, and we haven't had a lot of feeder cattle moving for the last couple of weeks. So these guys are going to be pretty aggressive. The few sales that we had over the holiday season were very active and mostly higher. So we're looking forward to getting back into this week and getting back into a full stream business here. Was lucky enough to be asked to speak at the Foothills Cattle Producers Roundup in Wessington Springs, South Dakota on Friday night. Had a fantastic crowd for such a rural area especially, but over 300 people there in a really nice American Legion Hall there in Wessington Springs, and it was full house, and everybody was engaged, and we had a good talk there. In attendance was Senator Mike Rounds there from South Dakota. He got up and shared some insight on some things that he thinks we can attain in the beef industry that will help us, and it was good to have somebody like that show up at a talk like that with just producers, and that's all it was just mostly ranchers and cattle people in there, farmer feeders and the like, and it was a very good meeting, and enjoyed it very much. Going to be spending this week in the Midwest here, coming to you from the Tracy Taylor Building in beautiful downtown Maysville, Missouri, where I used to live for so long, and going to be going to some sales up here in the Midwest, and then doing some speaking engagements at Ottumwa, Iowa on Friday, and then at the Missouri Cattlemen's Association in Columbia, Missouri on Saturday. So going to be getting a little bit different perspective here. You're looking around what's going on in the world. If you guys haven't noticed, Australia, it's been so volatile there. Back last year in 2019, they had some of the worst floods that they've ever had, and it drowned a lot of cattle and a lot of other stock there too. Now they've followed that up with some of the worst drought they've ever had, and these bushfires that they've got going over there are devastating in some areas. A lot of dead livestock, a lot of dead cattle and sheep, a lot of dead kangaroos and koala bears and the things that you see down under there, but it's definitely going to make a difference in the amount of livestock that they have over there, and especially since China has been going through their protein problems here with their African swine fever and losing so much. They've been importing a lot of protein from Australia, and coming down the line, of course they didn't have fires in the feedlots, but coming down the line, they're going to be short of stock, and that's just more reason for us to be bullish about our exports as we go further into 2020. Let's look at the board going into the first week of the new year. February live cattle futures Monday was up 60 cents. Tuesday was also up 60. Wednesday was a holiday, of course. Thursday down 15, and Friday down $1.05. And I was talking to some commodity people there late in the week, and they said not to be too concerned about the board being down late in the week there, because it just has a lot to do with the start of a new quarter, start of a new year, finishing up last year, and a lot of your funds and speculators, investment people kind of flip-flopping their portfolio around, and that's mostly has to do with that. We should be able to get right back in and be able to realize the fundamental strength that we saw over the holidays, and especially late last week. But your February live cattle futures ended the week at 124.72. That was actually up $1.22 for the week. Your out fronts were mostly all lower. April ended the week at 125.67, down $1.03. January feeder cattle contracts, Monday was down 12, Tuesday down a dime, Wednesday was New Year's Day, Thursday down 67, and Friday down $1.30, with your January feeder cattle contracts ending the week at 143.35, down $2.15. March ended the week at 142.67, down $2.13. Your fat cattle trade, of course, we knew it was higher during your Christmas week, higher again New Year's week, and just gangbusters, guys. Through Thursday, of course, we had New Year's Day in there. We hadn't sold very many in the 5-area feeding region. Through Thursday of last week, only 8,100 head had sold in the 5 areas, and most all of them were in Iowa, mostly at 125 and 197 dressed. Friday, your packers come out aggressive, and it could have been even better had the board not been down and severely early in the session there, but still gaining ground. Your packers talked all through December, even in early December. They didn't need anything for the rest of 2019. They were buying for mid to late January already, but they got very aggressive the first few days of the new year. So 2020 is coming in with a bang here. Iowa on Friday had confirmed sales of 13,600 head, and that's just through the early part of the day. Most of your live sales in Iowa were from 123 to 127, mostly at 125, so that's higher. Your dress sales 198 to $2 even, mostly 198 to 199. So everything gaining, $2 to $4, both live and dressed. Nebraska 23,600 head, 122 to 124 live, mostly all at 124 in Nebraska there. Dress sales from 198 to $2 even, mostly at 199. So bigger gains there on your dressed market there in Nebraska. Kansas 18,800 head through the early part of the day on Friday, all at 124 live, and the dress sales that they get mostly in the northern area and mostly northwest, 199. Of course, Texas and Colorado, we're not getting any information out of there through USDA's mandatory price reporting because of confidentiality rules. We will get that here early in the week here as we get a roundup for last week's trade, and we'll get the totals on there, but we can't pluck Texas and Colorado out of there anymore. But we can't forget there was more trade late in the day, and a lot of that didn't get in on those confirmed sales that I just gave you. I think we're going to have our largest weekly movement we've had for quite a while, and it's going to be the week that we transition from 2019 to 2020. But I would bet it would be 80,000 plus, because they came in late in the trade and started giving 125 in spots in the southern plains and in Texas, and more of that $2 dressed up in the northern plains. So that's going to pull a lot more numbers out of there. Gates were swinging late in the day on Friday and moving a lot of cattle. So we're coming in here really, really healthy, guys, and our export demand, our domestic beef demand, I said that a few sessions later, 2019 was probably best demand we've seen for decades for beef, despite fake meat products, despite all the other things that are going on, people thinking that cow farts are ruining the world and things like that. But we've got good export demand. Our slaughter's been really, really heavy, and we've continued to move product and hold the price, and that's where you find your beef demand. As much as we've moved, your slaughter for the year was up 1.2, 1.3%. We'll see whenever we get your finalized numbers for the year. But box beef cutout values, of course, faded late in the year there in 2019, but seem to have found a bottom, and we've really narrowed up that choice select spread, which is going to hurt some of the guys that are selling on the grid, because there's not going to be those huge premiums that they saw there a few months ago on your better quality product, because the select is selling darn near as good. But you notice, listen to these box beef cutout values, they're not that much higher than what dressed cattle are bringing. So your packers are not seeing those big margins right now, and they're having to tighten their belt a little bit. But choice cuts, your average weighted average trade for the entire last week was 208.96 on choice. That was actually down $1.28 compared to the weighted average price from the previous week during Christmas. Select weighted average quotes 203.89, down 93 cents, so it tightened that up a little bit more, and now your choice select spread is only $5.07, and that's on the total trade for the whole week last week. 578 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Pretty good for a holiday week. Your slaughter, about as aggressive as you could see during a holiday week where everything was shut down for New Year's Day, but 546,000 was 11,000 more than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Our feeder cattle auctions are going to be really aggressive this week. Your real-time index through DB Auction ended the week last week at 145.14, coming back up, and that's a 7-day moving average, and not a lot of quotes in there, but it was higher than your CME Cash Feeder Cattle Index. And when we get these quotes that we're going to see here early this weekend, it's gonna grow some more and start trading at quite a bit of a premium to what your nearby feeder cattle futures are. Cash feeders last week, it's really hard to tell because we didn't have very many sales, but everything was higher. As we come into these sales here early on Monday, some of the sales haven't had a sale for a couple of weeks, like Oklahoma City. Probably going to be from $3 to $7 higher, somewhere in there. And I'm expecting big gains on calves and yearlings. Oklahoma National Stockyards is expecting 12 to 13,000 head here on Monday, as they haven't had a sale for 2 weeks. Joplin Regional Stockyards did have a sale last week on Thursday. They had a weanback sale and ended up with nearly 2,000 more than they was expecting. Ended up with 8,700 head for the weanback sale they had on Thursday, and coming back here on Monday with their first regular sale for 2 weeks and expecting 12,500 head. And talked to Mark Harmon there, and he said the trucks and the trailers were just lined up coming in there, and they were bringing in those cattle fresh on Sunday for Monday's sale. But I want to give you a few top quotes here late in the week last week, and you can kind of judge how we get along on Monday here and early this week compared to the top quotes, and I stress top quotes for Friday and Saturday. But Burwell Livestock Market, Burwell, Nebraska, of course that's a premium type sale up there on Highway 20 on the Yellow Brick Road in Nebraska. But they had some pretty impressive calf quotes. 122 head you see on our automatic feed. 527 pound steers bring 197.50. Now most places aren't going to be able to attain that, but I'm just giving you an idea how aggressive some of your buyers were late last week. Verdigray Stockyards, Verdigray, Nebraska on Friday. Some middleweight calves there, 65 head of 612 pound steer calves in Verdigray, 164.25. Wow. And then on Saturday, getting more down into the southern plains, but over on the east side of Kansas, Fort Scott Livestock Market in Fort Scott, Kansas on a Saturday sale, 84 head of 859 pound steers bring 153.50. That's your feeder flash for Monday.